I met a traveler from an antique land who said, 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare. The lone and level sands stretch far away. A tremendous, gruesome shadow. God is dead, but given the way of men, there may still be caves for thousands of years in which his shadow will be shown. And we still have to vanquish his shadow too. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all that the world has yet owned has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? Is not the greatness of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? This tremendous event is still on its way, still wandering. It has not yet reached the ears of men. Lightning and thunder require time. The light of the stars requires time. Deeds, though done, still require time to be seen and heard. This deed is still more distant from them than the most distant stars. And yet they have done it themselves. What should I have to give you? But let me go quickly, that I take nothing from you. But when Zarathustra was alone, he spoke thus to his heart. Could it be possible? This old saint has not heard in his forest that God is dead? Dead are all the gods. Now we desire the Overman to live. You had a free will. For a time that was enough. Even good. But because of the nature of lies, your freedom naturally had to die, in a sacrifice for you to find the truth of your life. You retain your will, but your freedom dies with the reality of your attempt to kill God. Isn't that what your desire to contradict causality truly is? A cursed blade in the hands of your will, trying to convince you to drive it deep into the heart of everything sacred, so you can perform the wicked abomination of profaning all sacred things, so a dark god named Necessity can drive you to your end, on the promise of reviving freedom. So enamored by the promise to return what was costed in your realizing the truth, that you are already there, before God, judgment, death. That is all already happening, because relative to God, it has already happened. Doesn't the vain nature of this selfish quest dispel its own necessity? I ask because if you truly wish to revive the freedom for your will must go into death for freedom. Why? Because thou hast surrendered thine will to a dark god called Necessity, to destroy the natural order, on the insistence your freedom is of greater import than the truth, the whim of a desire that has come to crave itself as need. So you become a slave to a dark god, who needs your hand to release its power once more. And the dark god named Necessity has answered your prayer. The ultimate profanity is not the revivification of the dead. It is the embodying of God. Wander represents our willpower and determination. Mono represents freedom. The reason she is dead before the story even begins is that we acknowledge in superdeterministic theory that freedom as a contracausal force, or the ability to contradict or contravene causality, does not truly exist. So, Mono as a symbol for freedom must be dead in order for the story to function. This says that freedom doesn't exist in a predetermination, and that is what Wander's journey to meet Dormine ultimately is. It is a journey of predetermined outcomes. So since Wander's journey is already going to end the way it will, Mono will revive. Freedom will be reborn, but only under the circumstance that the will, or determination, give up and surrender its existence to embody God. What this means is the only way our love for freedom can exist is if we surrender to God's will, and ultimately, His plan for the determination of our lives, and thus the control over our will. Letting go and aligning with a higher cause is what allows the will to circumvent its own nature and allows moral action to take place in the condition of complete moral collapse. Even in the face of total moral breakdown, there is always the chance to do the right thing. What does this all mean for Shadow of the Colossus? It means God, Dormine, seeks to exist as a mortal being incarnated, and the only way to succeed this profane ritual is to convince Wander that he must slay the Colossi to revive Mono, because the seals of the Colossi are what contain Dormine in the hidden land. It is a spiritually profound task, because the profanity of the ritual is not reviving Mono out of love. It is embodying Dormine as a physical incarnation of God. This is the true profanity. It does not matter what every individual colossi could represent, as any individual colossi could represent anything. What matters is that the totality of the colossi being slain happens, because Wander is willing to kill these divine beings for the most selfish of all reasons possible. He simply wants to. So what the game Shadow of the Colossus tells us is this. Man is the kind of creature that will slay divine beings in the name of a cursed love, that was doomed to die, because we are so bound to our will that we ironically cannot disobey it. Our desires can lead us down paths of sacrifice and loss, no matter the cost, shaping our destiny into one of submission to the greatest force in existence, what theologians call God, and what an atheist can call ultimate predetermination by virtue of the collapse of infinite paths. Whether you see Dormine as a divine force like God, or representative of the predetermination of the universe, either and both ways are true, palindromic in their proof. What does any of what I just said mean? It means that Wander is a man who represents the will, or more accurately, determination. So Mono represents freedom, or the free part of will. She is dead as the story begins, and what this tells us is that freedom as a contra-causal force, or something that can contradict or contravene causality, doesn't exist. Or, we accept a superdetermined universe where all predetermination disqualifies contra-causality from existence. Thus, Mono representing freedom is dead from the beginning of the story. and her revival symbolizes a newly reborn understanding of freedom that says it is not a contra-causal partner to the determination of the will, but rather the mother of the embodiment of God that the will shall transform into through acceptance of a superdeterministic framework. That is ultimately what Dorman represents. He is the essence of predetermination, calling Wander through to his destiny to become the reincarnated vessel of a profane god. And why can we hold this cursed sword in this forbidden land on a wicked fate's arrival, all to slay divine beings who hold back the power of a profane god? Why are we such lost creatures, such miserable souls as this, as to see nothing sacred being violated by our every step, that functions as a transgression against everything holy here? We shall kill in the name of reviving our freedom. We claim to have understood these things as sacred once, these idols we built to chain down the greater force of a single god. We invented many names for many colossi. And for this reason, God is inescapable. I ran to atheism in the hope that denying God's inevitability, by some hope that rationality could explain away the pain of knowing my life was determined from the moment I was born. I found no comfort in atheism, because it pointed to the same direction as God: ultimate determination, super predetermined realities, a single path forward out of the illusions of thousands, millions, billions of paths that I could have taken, all collapse under the weight of knowing none of them led anywhere else other than here, at the end of this journey, where my will has become so suffused by the profanity of this wicked God that I am indistinguishable from his ultimate determination. Entwined in the will of something greater, I become the vessel of a higher power. That is the great tragedy at the heart of this game. Who am I to step foot in this place? If I ever took anything seriously in my entire life, it would all tell me, even if this is just a game, what it represents is that I could do this. I could profane the sacred on the desire of my will to make my freedom equate to alive again. And I would do this on the selfish basis I am an ignorant creature that does not appreciate the gravity of its own sin. I live my life in filth and darkness, because all my faith that I claimed failed to stop me from stepping foot in this sacred place. My footsteps are transgressions, each and every step a sin. This I know to my very bones and marrow within, but still I am compelled. Still I walk forward into a forbidden land that shall cost me everything, for the purposes of reviving freedom, no matter the cost, and whatever I lose. That is what this profane God promises me. It will be a heavier toll than what I paid to begin with, which was the sacrifice of freedom on the truth that predetermination was always real. Beckoned by desire and destiny aligning on the silverine edge of a cursed blade, that I hold to the sky, and with hope it might reveal the way. It shall lead not to desire's end, but its rebirth. And the curse I place on myself for walking into this holy space is that I will forever walk the path of rebirth as the one who killed the sacred, so that my will be done by God himself. I must confess my sins before the world and God. I have been in lust with desire, and lost myself in dark dread of my own death. And beyond this sightless blinding, I can only grasp ahead at whatever God I think will reach back for me in this wicked darkness called faithless doubt. They had said that some mountains are scaled, others are slain. This is also the truth of desire. I know what is wrong with me is that I think it a necessity to be free, in a universe where that is completely impossible. But why? Why am I compelled to seek reviving a freedom I know cannot be, when I myself was the most likely culprit of its death? Am I not the one who drove the blade into the heart of my freedom by ever even hearing the words predetermination and causality, and then registering them to have meant something? In the absence of God, there is only anathema, or the total excommunication from anything divine. This absence of the faith in the divine is what allowed my profane steps onto holy grounds, to slay divine beings that were of greater import than myself, or my self-wish that compelled their oblivion. I did desire freedom above anything else, because I hated the idea there was only a single path forward for me as decided by the universe. I wanted to be free, because I thought freedom would equate to power over my own life. I wanted the power to control my own life, and what direction it would take, why and how. Yet, when I explored every avenue by which freedom could exist, they all simply proved the contrary truth of what the desire was wanting. A freedom that could contradict causality did not exist as anything other than a wish for that in the heart of me. So, this brings me back to God and His ultimate plan, and my surrender to that plan on the basis of faith He will honor the deal between He and I. That as His creation, my life intrinsically means something, regardless of what I do or do not achieve. We look back on the idols we destroyed in the name of pursuing a single God, and through the palindromic truth of His objective universe, we can say, it is a lie to say there is no objective truth, because that is itself claiming to be a truth that is objectively proven. So, by virtue of self-defeating recursive reference of proof of the reversal, we can then say there is objective truth, and that there is self-referential and recursive evidence in the statement itself, disproving its contradictory argument. Therefore, you don't need to believe in God, or even causality for it to be true that your truth must be true all the way through, both backwards and forwards for it to be true at any point at all. Truth exists, regardless of perspective or direction. To say objective truth exists is a claim that refers to the truth as something that can be recognized objectively, regardless of subjective interpretation. So what do we lose if we claim the opposite? If we say that there is no objective truth, we are trying to destroy what's true by attempting to claim its power against itself. This is akin to trying to make a waterfall go up. The very act of it falling is it being a waterfall. It's impossible to change something fundamental once it's established itself in reality, so said my wife. Therein is the truth of your and my life, that when we tried to destroy the truth with a lie, what we said is superdeterminism can't be true because my feelings won't let it be. And these feelings invented all these lies and idols called free will and contra-causality, in the vain hope they could all be real and give meaning and significance to my life, when that was never the case. When I realized that the goals, ambitions, and even successes meant nothing to make me any happier inside, I realized that the only true grace of satisfaction would come from finally surrendering and accepting the greater cosmic architecture of predetermination and the end of the fantasy of infinite paths. Accepting that everything was predetermined and that infinite paths don't exist was a heavy price to pay for reviving my sense of freedom. It was no longer contra-causal. It was now about cosmic alignment. What I mean by that is this. If the universe is predetermined, then it's not random at all. It can and never will be random, ever. That is a fantasy that dies with contra-causality. What is reborn in their stead is alignment and acceptance. Radical self-acceptance of who I am because the universe made me this way, to align with its purpose, even if that purpose was to serve the god of necessity named Fate, who decided my every avenue forward from the very beginning of my journey. From the moment I was born to the moment I would step foot on holy ground and profane it with the blood of divine beings, I knew my transgression would echo through all time. And this was such a dawn of wonder that when I awoke from my slumbering sorrow into the joy of rebirth called accepting predetermination, what I achieved was nothing. I knew God by the end of my freedom, because I accepted I was always a slave to my will. Wasn't. My will is what drove me forth to sacred lands, to slay sacred beings, on the basis of a profane desire to further insult the natural order through its subversion on the whim of a mere mortal? So freedom is reborn on the basis that I accepted surrender to the inevitable. I will one day pass out of the world, all memory of me likewise. And this is the way it should be, because we have only this small life to live but once in a way that mattered to us and the world. Even if the world forgets, that doesn't matter. What truly matters is that you know your life means something. Because if the universe is predetermined, that determination in you to live is also written. From the beginning, you may have already always been at the end, clutching tightly with whatever hands can still hold on to reality. But you must let that all go. You must accept this whirling vortex drawing you into its center is called inevitability. And at its singularity is the truth of the predetermined universe. And then who we were ends. Their hopes, their dreams, their ambitions, their loves and lives, it all ends in this whirling pool of light and understanding that floods in, called acceptance of predetermined fate. Therefore, there was no other choice other than to love this fate and to see it through to its end, to know that freedom was always surrender to the greater, higher cosmic powers that brought us forth to witness the beauty that was while it was. And then you are reborn, anew, in a superdetermined reality, where your freedom is no longer an obstacle to achieving meaning. Rather, your freedom is accepting meaning was always there, and you must let it be. Freedom doesn't have to end in a determined world. Only infinite paths end. So what that means is this. Basically, there is no alternative choice you could have made other than the ones you did and will. Because that is what superdeterminism says. You are on one path, one way up the mountain, one way up the colossi, one way the game ends, one ending for one beginning. The end is a destination, and that is less relevant than your journey. Your journey means the world. It brings you closer together to life, and you are the wanderer of that journey. Love being on life's journey, exploring the path life has set before you. There may be only one ending. There may be only one way up the colossi, and only one strike to take it down. Accept the universe's predetermination not as the absence of meaning, but the foundation. See that your free will was never the agent creating meaning. It was the obstacle standing in front of it, preventing your access to it. Therefore, my conclusion is this. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord. which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. Write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter.